Here's a simple, short comment that I received, and I've been thinking about it all day, and I want to talk about it. Joseph Sames had this to say about a video I made called MyHeritage, by ethnic countries, Uzbekistan, Nepal, and Mexico. Here was his comment, quote, "I watched this video, I like your channel. The Balkans were people who are Slavic plus Mediterranean plus Turkish," end quote. So I think that's interesting because my DNA test results show that I am part Balkan. Not a lot, but I think it helps explain overall how even I look. If someone is going to say that I look Balkan, and I've had that response before, if someone said that I have a Balkan look to me, then that can make sense because the Balkans were a mix of what I already know. The Slavic part, that shows up in my DNA. Mediterranean, obvious with the fact that my great-grandparents did come from Italy, even though they apparently weren't so Italian, plus Turkish, and that explains the Middle Eastern part. So I think like this simple comment really sheds light on this. It's funny because overall the Balkan part of my DNA is not a big part of it. But I think when it's all said and done at the end, how I end up looking could actually overall more represent that one minor part of me that is Balkan. And very soon my dad will get his DNA test results and we'll see if that maybe is coming from him actually. It's quite possible, and I think it is from what I've been able to deduct from my mom's DNA test, which she's already taken. So I think that's very interesting, and it's helped me to see things. I have to remember that, you know, maybe culturally I'm white. Maybe I grew up culturally white here in America in the South. But ethnically, I'm not so Northern European where a lot of people here in the South came from. Their ancestors were Irish and English and Scottish. And me, not so much. Well, again, we'll know for sure when my dad's test comes back. But the main thing is, I think it's interesting that ultimately, you can look at someone's long list of DNA and you can basically simplify it into one thing. But in the end, the person looks more this than all that other stuff. Now, I've also heard a lot of people say I look like a perfect mix between Spanish and German or Dutch. Someone specifically in my other video channel, which is Nick Shell, which talks about hair loss, specifically said I look very Dutch. So I apparently have strong German-Dutch features, which my last name is Shell, so that would make sense. And then my mom being half Mexican, and then the other half being Italian, Middle Eastern, Jewish, or whatever. That's what you get. You get a Spanish, German-looking guy, but I do have Balkan DNA. And when you all throw it all together, this is what you get. And of course, you've seen the videos with my sister. In fact, the number one video on my channel right now is the one where my sister and I compare and contrast our own DNA. And we see how different our results are. And you look at us, and I'm not getting comments from people saying, you guys look like brother and sister. So it's interesting because we got different parts of our DNA. And you know, if you see my wife, people said my wife and I look like brother and sister, but not my sister and I. So I'm just fascinated by DNA. I'm fascinated by the end result when it all comes down. Whatever's on our MyHeritage DNA test results, how do you actually end up looking? If in what nationalities or ethnicities can people see in you? I think it's interesting. We have a perception of ourselves. Other people have a perception of us other than that. But people, for the most part, are saying German and Spanish. But this Balkan thing, ultimately, is pinpointing one of the, I guess, highlights that I have that kind of brings my specific look together. What are your thoughts on that? Do you have anything to add to that, especially this whole Balkan thing? I didn't realize that they were such an interesting mix themselves. So thank you for that comment. I feel smarter now.